Okay. Just give me a minute. Let's see this. Why is it showing like this? Okay. Why this isn't opening? Okay, just give me a minute. I don't know what's wrong with this. Definitely. Open it in Chrome. Maybe let me see what happens. Okay, seems to be coming, but okay, it's coming. It is coming. Oops. Okay. Somewhere. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. तत्र धर्मपुत्रावित्यादौ कारिका नरनारायणौ प्राप्येत्यात्मसात्कृत्य तौ स्वयं कृष्णार्जुनौ चंद्रवंशम् अनुप्रकटतां गतौ. Thus here is a karika, an explanatory verse for the verse beginning Dharmaputra. So this is Sri Rupa Goswami's own paraphrase, explanatory paraphrase of the verses that were quoted. The two of them, Krishna and Arjuna, attained Nara Narayana in the sense of accepting them within themselves. Krishna and Arjuna then manifested themselves in the dynasty of the moon god. Okay, fine, this is all fine. Okay, the reason why Sri Rupa Goswami does this is because one cannot accept the pratitika artha, the superficial meaning of those verses, because that would contradict certain explicit statements about Krishna being the original personality of Godhead. The Puranas do not use words in vain. Every word has a precise meaning which one can discover through careful study under the guidance of the Vaishnava Acharyas. If the principal meaning of the word prapya, obtaining, is not suitable in the given context, then one must find another acceptable meaning. So here prapya has a sense of accepted them within themselves. Tavimau vityadau karika kartarau tau hareramshau naran narayana viha द्वापरान्ते कर्मभूता आयातौ कृष्ण फाल्गुनाउ. Something else. Okay, I'll just keep it simple. Just switch between these two. I think that's easier. The page is not properly displaying. Okay. A karika on the verse beginning Tavimau. In this verse, Nara and Narayana are the subjects of the sentence who are acting. At the end of the Dwapara age, they enter Krishna and Arjuna, the objects of the sentence, who are receiving the action. Kavimau Sampujya. Okay, so in this way, he's explaining each. Okay, these other meanings have already been included in the translation in the past. Sampujyetyadau karikaha sarvadau upadeshtatvad yah puranarshiruchyate naranam purushanam yas trayanam ashrayas satu nareshu martya lokeshu sahachari bhavan swayam tad dharmam anukrityatra pujayamasa tam munim Narayana kyenam shena krishno yadyapi tad guruhu naradam pujayamasa tathapi kshatra leelaya. Karikas on the verse beginning Sampujya. Krishna is called the most ancient of sages because he gave spiritual instruction at the very beginning of the creation. He is called Narayana because he is the shelter of the three Naras, the Purusha incarnations. He is called the friend of Nara because he joined with the human beings on the earth and executed dharma as if one of them. And thus, he offered worship to the sage Narada. Although Krishna is Narada's guru, in his partial expansion as Narayana Rishi, during his Kshatriya Leela, he worshipped Narada. Now, this is all based on standard evidences. Okay. According to Sri Gopala Tapani Upanishad, Krishna gave instructions to Brahma at the beginning of Brahma's day. Thus, at the beginning of a new phase of creation, Krishna is the first spiritual authority. Yo Brahmanam Vidhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedamsha Gapayati Sma Krishnaha. Gopala Tapani Upanishad. It's Upanishad. Krishna is the first spiritual authority, the Purana Rishi. Nara is a synonym of the word Purusha. So, the three Purusha incarnations who create the material world are sometimes called the Naras. Because Krishna is the shelter of the three Naras, as Sri Brahma Samhita describes. He is Narayana. He is moreover the friend of all Naras or human beings. Therefore, to set an example, while playing the part of human being, Krishna offers worship to the great sage Narada, even though Krishna's partial expansion, Badrinarayan, is Narada's instructing spiritual master. Okay. Madarisha Rupena Tanturu Narayana, Narayanasya Upadeshta. Aindram ityado karika. Indrastu natikau vidyan matsara choktavanitam tasmad krishnasya no tad rupatvam ghatati kvachit. A karika on the verse beginning Aindram, being not very wise, Indra spoke like this out of envy. Thus, the assertion that Krishna is an expansion of either of these forms is unreasonable. In the Kena Upanishad, Indra, Agni, and Vayu are said to be knowers of the absolute truth. How then can Indra be called less intelligent? Srila Rupa Goswami answers that to facilitate Krishna's pastime, Indra's wisdom became temporarily covered, and therefore he felt envious of Krishna's superiority. Indra, Agni, Vayu, Nam, Brahma, Vitva, Darshana, Katham, Indrasya, Na, Atiko, Vidatva, Muchyate, Leelartham, Tad Jnana, Achadana, Tattvam. For the sake of Krishna's pastimes, his knowledge of Krishna's supremacy was covered. Matsarat, Krishna Utkarsha Asahanat, Tadrupatvam Badri. Okay. Atha Paravasthaha, Yatha Padme. Krishnasya Paravasthatvat, Badrishadya Amshatvoktir Viruddhetyuktam, Tadavastatvam Vaktum Atheti. Because Krishna belongs to the Paravastha category. Paravastha means the supreme status, literally. So he cannot be stated to be an amsha or a portion of Narayana Rishi at Badri and so on, because that would contradict. अथ परावस्थाः यथा पाद्मे नृसिंह रामकृष्णेषु षाड्गुण्यं परिपूरितं परावस्थास्तु ते तस्य दीपादुत्पन्न दीपवत् इति. Now the paravastha forms, according to the Padma Purana, Nrsimha, Ramachandra and Krishna are complete in all 6 qualities. They are paravastha forms of the Supreme Lord, like lamps lit from another lamp. Yathottara paripurtir iha vyajyate. Nrsimha manifests completely, Rama more completely, and Krishna most completely. The perfections of Godhead are exhibited at different degrees by the various expansions of Krishna, who alone fully exhibits all 6 categories of perfection. The 3 most glorious forms of the Supreme Person are designated in Vedic texts as Para Avastha, most perfect. The Lord exhibits his perfections in progressively greater completeness as Nrsimha, as Ramachandra, and finally in his ultimate form as Krishna. तस्य षाड्गुण्यस्य इति प्रातिथिकम् इदं बोध्यम्. Not that he only has 6 qualities. And this is also the Padma Purana verse is talking about the degree to which they are manifest. In all of his forms, Krishna possesses the same number of infinite qualities. But in particular forms, he has decided to display only up to a particular degree. Tatra Shri Nrsimha Prahlada Hridayahladam Bhakta Vidya Vidaranam Sharadendu Ruchim Vande Parindra Vadanam Harim. Of these 3, Shri Nrsimha is praised as follows. I offer my homage to Lord Hari, who has the face of a lion. He delights Prahlad's heart and tears apart his devotee's ignorance. His luster is like that of the autumn moon. Vagisha yasya vadane lakshmir yasya cha vakshasi yasyante hridaye samvittam nrsimhaham bhaje. The goddess of speech resides in his mouth and goddess Lakshmi on his chest. Complete knowledge resides in his heart. I worship that Lord Nrsimha. The power of having complete knowledge of everything that exists resides in the heart of Lord Nrsimha. This and the previous verse are from Sridhar Swami's commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 111. गंभीर गर्जितारंभ स्तंभितांभोज संभव संरंभ स्तंभ पुत्रस्य मुनिनो जृंभितो नृपे. As soon as Lord Nrsimha began his deep roar, lotus-born Brahma became stunned. Thus the sage disclosed to the king the fury of the Lord who was born from the pillar. The sage described Lord Nrsimha's appearance. The sage describing Lord Nrsimha's appearance was Narada, and he was speaking to King Yudhishthira. All 3 of these verses were composed by Srila Sridhar Swami. Yatha Shri Saptame. Now these are all derived from various standard texts. Yatha Shri Saptame Satavadhuta Jalada Parapatan Grahasya Tadrishti Vimushtaro Chishaha Ambodaya Shwasa Hata Vichukshubhur Nirhradabhita Digibha Juhur Disha. As described in the 7th canto, the hair on Nrsimhadev's head shook the clouds and scattered them here and there. His glaring eyes stole the effulgence of the luminaries in the sky, and his breathing agitated the oceans. Because of his roaring, the elephants guarding the directions abandoned their posts. Dyaus tat sator kshipta vimana sankula protsarpatakshma padabhipidita shaila samutpeturamushya ramhasa tattejasa kham kakubo narejire iti. Airplanes were thrown into outer space and the upper planetary system by the hair on Nrsimhadev's head. Because of the pressure of the Lord's lotus feet, the earth appeared to slip from its position, while hills and mountains sprang up due to his intolerable force. Because of the Lord's bodily effulgence, both the sky and all directions diminished in their natural illumination. Such were the effects of Lord Nrsimha's fury when he was intent on killing the demon Hiranyakashipu. He was simply angry, that's all. He didn't even do anything. Yes, and it is all the effect of his hair standing on end, that's all. Daitya Vatha Vyagrasya Nrharer Atopamaha. The fury of Nrsimha when he became eager to kill the Daitya. Ugropyanugrahevayam swabhaktanam nrkeshari keshariva swapotanam anyesham ugravigraha. Although Lord Nrkeshari is very ferocious, he is not at all fearsome to his devotees. With them he behaves like a female lion with her cubs, but for others his form is very terrible. It might seem impossible to approach the fearsome form of Lord Nrsimha to offer personal service. As stated above, however, his otherwise scorching presence is like cool, soothing moonshine for his devotees. A number of devotees have who are very fond of the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimha deity here in Mayapur. They also testify that is very furious when you try to play the fool, but when you are surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, then he is very caring. Asya Shri Divyasimhasya Paramananda Tundilaha Shriman Nrsimha Tapanyam Mahima Prakati Kritaha. The all blissful glories of this divine line incarnation are revealed in the venerable Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad. Anu Paravastasche Shri Nrsimhas Tarhi Tad Anuguna Mahima Vachyaha Tatraha Asya Shri. If he actually belongs to the supreme status, then the glorious features of Sri Nrsimha would be stated somewhere. Yes, they are stated in Sri Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad. Those who want to know more about the glories of Sri Nrsimha that qualify him as one of the three Paravasta forms of the Supreme Lord can consult the Nrsimha Tapani Upanishad. Tasya Nivasamaha, his residence is now described. Nrsimhasya Bhavedvaso Janalloke Mahatmanaha Sarvoparishtat Tatha Vishnaloke Prakirtitaha. The Supreme Soul, Nrsimhadev, is said to reside on Janaloka and on Vishnaloka beyond the material universe. Sarvoparishtat Vishnaloke Paravyomni. This is in the spiritual sky. Shri Raghavendraha. Atha Shri Ramachandrasya Paravastattvamaha Purvatopiti. Shri Ramachandra belongs to the supreme status amongst the Lord's forms. That is now stated from now onwards. Shri Raghavendra. Purvatopyesha Nishesham Madhuryamrita Chandrama Bhati Sadguna Sanghena Tunga Shri Raghupungavaha. Now Shri Raghavendra. Raghavendra means Rama. He appeared in the Raghu dynasty, the best of the descendants of Raghu. That's why he is called Raghavendra. The exalted hero of the Raghus displays all excellent qualities even more fully than Lord Nrsimha. He is the moon of enchanting nectar. Lord Nrsimha is Prabhava Bhuma, infinitely powerful, and Lord Ramachandra is Madhurya Bhuma, infinitely attractive. Tatra Prabhava Bhuma ihatu Madhurya Bhuma api iti bhavaha. Okay, api. In the form of Nrsimha, he is exhibiting immense prowess, but as Rama, in addition to exhibiting immense prowess, he also exhibits immense sweetness, attractiveness. Padme Vandamahe Maheshanam Harakodanda Khandanam Janaki Hridayananda Chandanam Raghunandanam. From the Padma Purana, I glorify the Supreme Lord who broke Lord Shiva's bow. He is the sandal paste of joy decorating the heart of Janaki and the delight of the Raghu dynasty. Asya Janmotsavam Brute Sri Ramarchana Chandrika. The book Sri Ramarchana Chandrika describes the festive occasion of his birth. Yatha Uchchaste Graha Panchake Suragurau Sendo Navamyam Tithau Lagne Karkatake Punar Vasu Yute Mesham Gate Pushani Nirdagdhum Nikhila Palasha Samidho Medhyad Ayodhya Rane Avirbhutam Abhud Apurva Vibhavam Yat Kinchidekam Maha. On the 9th lunar day, with 5 planets in exalted positions, with the moon and Jupiter conjoined on the horizon in Cancer, and in the nakshatra Punarvasu, and with the sun in Aries, a certain greatly effulgent person with unprecedented opulences appeared like a sacrificial fire from the pure Arani wood of Ayodhya to burn to ashes all the Palasha fuel wood of the flesh-eating demons. This is very clear. This is a very clear description. Janmotsavopi tattvam asya vyanjayati. Okay, now this is all high tech for me. So I'll just read this. The auspicious circumstances surrounding Lord Ramachandra's birth tells much about his divinity, outlining the astrological configuration of the heavens at the moment of his advent. The guidebook on his worship, Sri Ramarchana Chandrika, states that Lord Ram appeared from his blessed abode Ayodhya like a sacrificial fire ignited from sacred kindling wood. As the fire of sacrifice burns to ashes all the fuel wood placed into it, so Lord Ramachandra destroyed the entire race of man-eaters. The word Palasha means man-eater, but also refers to one of the 7 kinds of wood used for fuel in Vedic yajnas. Lord Ramachandra was born on the 9th lunar day of the bright half of the month of Chaitra. At that time, the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn were each in the constellations of their exaltation, respectively, Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, Pisces, and Libra. The Sun was in the 10th degree of Aries, Mars in the 3rd degree of Capricorn, Jupiter in the 28th degree of Cancer, Venus in the 27th degree of Pisces, and Saturn in the 20th degree of Libra. Cancer ascending contained Jupiter conjunct with the moon, whatever all of this means. All of that is straight, faithfully taken by Sri Gopi Puranam Prabhu from here. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan. These are all very exalted. In the standard commentator on Valmiki Ramayana, Sri Govindaraja of the Ramanuja line, he explains how Lord Ram exhibited particular features corresponding to some of these astrological configurations. Sri Ekadashe, in the 11th canto. Chakva sudustya surepsitya rajya lakshmim dharmishtha arya vachasa yadagadharanyam mayam mrigam dayata yepsita manvadha vadvande mahapurushate Charanaravindam. From the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet. As the most faithful follower of religious principles, you honored the words of your respected father and went to the forest, abandoning royal splendor, so opulent that the demigods desired it. In the forest, you chased after the illusory deer desired by your beloved consort. Garbhajana Sri Rama Padabjam Pranamati. Garbhajana offers obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Rama. O great soul, O son of Dasharatha. This is based on Sridhar Swami's commentary. Sridhar Swami has explained this to refer to Ramachandra. This and the next verse. That's another verse. How does that go? It also ends with Vande Mahapurusha Te Charanarvindam. I forgot. Anyway, these two verses, Sridhar Swami has explained it as referring to Lord Rama. Sri Jiva Goswami has explained those two verses as referring to Lord Krishna. And Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained those two verses as referring to Lord Chaitanya. So all three are correct. So just to be on the safe side, we worship Shadbhuj Gauranga. So all the forms are covered. Sri Navame. Nedam Yasho Raghupate Surayan Yatal Leela Tano Rasika Samya Vimukta Dhamna Raksho Vadho Jaladhibandhana Mastrapu Gai Kim Tasya Shatru Hanane Kapaya Sahaya. And in the 9th canto, the factual glory of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, who at the demigod's request descended in a spiritual form to perform various transcendental pastimes, is not represented by his killing Ravana with showers of arrows or building a bridge over the ocean, because his essential potency cannot be surpassed or even equaled. Indeed, he did not need the monkey's help to gain victory over Ravana. So this is very clear about Lord Ram's position, spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. This verse and the next verse spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. Lord Ramachandra, the personality of God, had descended from the spiritual world at the request of Brahma and the other demigods to remove the burden created by demons threatening the earth. His fame has endured for millions of years, but not because he managed to perform such feats as bridging the ocean. He accepted help from Sugriva and his monkey army only because it suited his pleasure. Idam kavibhir ashcharyameva varnitam api raghupate yashah stutihi na bhavati. Even though his killing of the Rakshasas, that has been described as if it's a very astonishing activity, still, this does not actually constitute a glorification of Lord Rama. Because nirupama prabhavasya, because his prowess is actually incomparable. So he's taking shelter of Sugriva and so on. Vinodamatra, it's just for his pastime, that's all. Yuktam Chaitan, it's appropriate also to say that. Suranam Brahmadinam Yajnaya. It is simply because the demigods such as Brahma begged him to descend that he accepted this form of Rama. Then he descended. So for him, it was just his pastime. It is only for that purpose he descended. Therefore, Shukadeva Goswami offers his obeisances unto him. Therefore, everyone offers obeisances unto Lord Ram. Yasyamalam nripasadassu yashodhunapi gayantyaghagnam rishayo digivendra pattam tam nakapala vasupala kirita jushtapadam bhujam raghupatim sharanam prapadye iti. Lord Ramachandra's spotless name and fame, which vanquish sinful reactions spread out in all directions like the ornamental clothes of the elephants who support the earth from the 8 directions. Up till today, great saintly persons glorify his characteristics in the assemblies of great emperors. All saintly kings and demigods worship the Lord by bowing down with their helmets. Let me offer my obeisances unto his lotus feet. These verses in praise of the ancient avatar, Lord Ramachandra, was sung by Shukadev only 5,000 years ago, even though the Lord appeared millions of years ago. Just as the decorative cloths on the backs of the elephants who hold up the earth spread to the limits of the directions, the fame of Lord Ram extends to the limits of time and space. The rulers of heaven and earth offer themselves at his lotus feet. Those kings refer to kings such as Yudhishthir and so on. The sages refer to Markandeya and so on. Markandeya has described Ram's pastimes in Mahabharata. Ramopakhyana, Atrakarika, Atta Prakatita Leela, Tanur Leela Mayi Tanu, Yena Tasyeti Samyeti, Swarteshyan Pratyayo Mataha, Dhama Swarupam Vigyayam, Adhikkena Samenacha, Vimuktam Dhama Yasyeti, Mahatmyam Sarvatodhikam, Yasyadhikas Samaschatra Kwapinasti Nishchayaha. Some Karikas explaining these verses. The word Atta does not mean that he has assumed his form, but means that he has revealed it. Leela Tanu indicates that his transcendental body engages in many enjoyable pastimes. In the word Samya, the suffix ya preserves the meaning of the original word Sama. It means, Sama means equal, Samya can mean equality, but Samya can also mean equal. Here it means equal. And the word Dhamma in this context means essential nature. His essential potency is without, superior or equal, and his glories are beyond those of all others. Certainly in this world, no one is greater than or equal to him. Nakapala, Mahendradya, Vasupa, Vasudhatika. The rulers of heaven are King Indra and the other demigods, and the rulers of Vasu are the earthly kings. These Karikas elucidate the two verses quoted from the 9th canto. The word Atta, which comes at the end of the first line of the first of these 9th canto verses, often means assumed, but this cannot be the intended meaning. The Supreme did not assume the form of Lord Ramachandra because that form is eternal. Therefore, in this context, Atta means revealed. Many times, while Prabhupada translates, he presents a word just literally, but he expects us to, just as Shukadeva Goswami uses certain words, you're not expected to take the actual literal meaning. You're supposed to understand the intended meaning. So even when, let us say, you come across statements like Lord Ram assumed this form or Lord Krishna assumed this form, it should always be understood he manifested this form. He appeared to assume this form. Vasudevadi Rupanam Avatara Prakirtita Vishnu Dharmottare Rama Lakshmanadhyah Kramadami. According to the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, Rama, Lakshmana and their brothers are avatars of the 4 forms of the Supreme Lord, beginning with Vasudeva. Lord Ram is Vasudeva, Lakshmana is Sankarsana, Bharata is Pradyumna, and Shatrughna is Aniruddha. Matantaramaha. Another opinion. Padmetu Ramo Bhagavan Narayana iti ritaha Sheshas Chakram cha Shankascha Kramatsur Lakshmanadayaha. According to the Padma Purana, however, Rama is the Supreme Lord Narayana, while Lakshmana and his other brothers, Bharata and Shatrughna, are Shesha and Narayana's disc and conch, respectively. Tadridam kalpabhedenaiva sambhavyam. Both of this can be true only when we accept that there are differences due to the different days of Brahma. The different accounts found in the Vishnu Dharmottara Purana and the Padma Purana are not incompatible because they describe different avatars of Lord Ramachandra who appeared during 2 different days of Brahma. अथ अस्य चतुर्विध रूपस्य भगवतो निवासमाह. The residence of this Supreme Lord in his 4 forms, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, is now stated in the next verse. Madhyadesha sthita Ayodhya Puresya vasati smrita Mahavaikuntha lokecha Raghavendrasya kirtita. The scriptures say that Lord Raghavendra's residence is in the city of Ayodhya, located in central India. He is also said to reside in the supreme Vaikuntha Loka. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers reside eternally in Ayodhya, both on earth as well as in the topmost region of the spiritual world. Although the Bhagavatam statement beginning, Ede Chamshakalapamsa, may seem to indicate that Ramachandra and Nrsimha are typical Amshavataras, the above descriptions of them imply that they are not. So they are not just manifesting a fragment of Krishna's features, rather Nrsimha manifests a lot of Krishna's features and Ram almost Krishna's features. Shri Krishna Bilvamangale Santvavtara Bhava Pushkaranabhasya Sarvato Bhadra Krishnadanya Ko Va Lata Swapi Premado Bhavati. Bilvamangal Thakur describes Shri Krishna as follows. Certainly, the lotus navel personality of Godhead has many auspicious incarnations, but among them, who other than Krishna gives love of God even to the creepers? Acha Shri Krishna se Paravasthamaha. Now it is pointed out that Shri Krishna belongs to the Paravastha category. Yattu Rame Vanavasaya Nirgate Vrikshadibhirapi Rudiktam iti Shri Ramayane Pyuktam Tat Khulu Tadaiva Vicheda Dukkhena Eva. Look at this. This is why you need acharyas. Otherwise, head or tail, you cannot understand what is going on. Why Rupa Goswami gives these kind of evidences. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan points out, in Sri Ramayana, it is pointed out that when Lord Ram had departed for exile in the forest, even the trees were crying. The trees cried, the ponds were crying, the horses were crying, they even refused to come back. Everyone cried. Sumantra describes to Dasharatha, everyone cried, creeper, flowers, buds, you name it, birds, everyone was crying. Tatkulu tadaiva vichheda dukkhena. But that happened when the Lord went away and they felt sad that they were separated from him. Ihatu, here in Krishna Leela, however, samyogepi pratidinamapi, even when Krishna is present and every day, tad asti iti. You find this, that they are feeling separation on a daily basis. Okay, then this verses will be most probably quoted in the commentary. That is understood from Bhagavatam verses. Dura pravasetu parishadam saundaryam matra sheshataya avastiti matram abhut iti tato mahan atishayaha. Now, there's a very great difference, very, very great difference. It is not that only when the Lord goes very far away, these features are exhibited, but even otherwise. Okay, another interesting point. Even though there are evidences from 10th canto about Krishna's form being unequal, unparalleled, instead of quoting that, he has quoted this verse of Sri Bilawangal because he's an authority, he's a standard authority. Therefore, he has quoted this. The authority statements, they ascertain, they clarify finally. With this statement, Sri Bilawangal reveals Sri Krishna's supreme position. The Ramayana does describe how even the trees and plants of Ayodhya wept at the time of Ram's departure for exile. That, however, was only on that particular occasion and only due to intense pain of impending separation from him. The descriptions of Krishna's pastimes reveal that the trees and creepers of Vraja display symptoms of ecstasy every single day, even when Krishna is near them. Trailokya saubhagamidam chan niriksharupam yad god vijat drumam mrigah pulakanya bibhran. Your beauty makes all three worlds auspicious. Indeed, even the cows, birds, trees, and deer manifest the ecstatic symptom of bodily hair, standing on end when they see your beautiful form. Pranata bhara vitapa madhudhara prema krishta tanavo vavrushusma. As the branches of the trees and creepers bent low with the weight of abundant fruits and flowers, they rain down tears of sweet sap, while the shoot on their trunks and vines stand erect due to the ecstasy of love of God. And when Krishna left Vraja to live in Mathura, the hearts of his intimate associates in Vraja were sustained only by the indelible image of his beauty, which is even greater excellence. Gopyas tapah kim acharan yad damushya rupam lavanya saram asamurdhvam ananya siddham drigbhih vivantya anusavabhi navam durapam ekanta dhama yashasa shriya aishwarasya. What austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes, they always drink the nectar of Lord Krishna's form. This is Krishna is already out of Vraja, but the gopis still see Krishna, and therefore they drink the nectar of Krishna's form, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. That form is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and extremely rare. In this verse, Srila Bilawangal Thakur speaks of Krishna's lotus navel because he remembers his own personal experience with Krishna, who kindly revealed to him his unmanifest Vrindavan pastimes. Paramaishwarya madhurya piyusha purva varidhi devaki nandanas tvesha purah paricharishyate. This darling son of Devaki is an unprecedented ocean of nectar filled with supreme opulence and sweetness. Later, we will focus on his characteristics in detail. Devaki Nandana iti Shrishtamuktam. There's a double meaning behind the word Devaki Nandana. Agre Vishesham Vyanjayishyamaha. That we will deal with that later on. Nanda Suto Vasudeva Sutascha Krishna ityarthaha. It refers to Krishna, the son of Nanda and the son of Vasudeva. Purvatram Naralila Kaivalyat Madhuryamev Bahu Ihatu Bhayam Tulyam Iti Tatvadhi. Okay. Srila Rupa Goswami will later explain that Devaki is also a name of Yashoda, and that therefore Devaki Nandana is a name for Krishna both as a son of Nanda and as a son of Vasudeva. As Vasudeva Sutta, as a son of Vasudeva, Krishna performs pastimes that for the most part prominently reveal his power and opulence, while as Nanda Sutta, he performs only human-like pastimes that prominently reveal his sweetness. Vasudeva Sutta's Leela is clothed in opulence while decorated with sweetness, like an opulent mirror decorated with an attractive picture. In contrast, Nanda Sutta's Leela is clothed in sweetness while decorated with opulence, like a beautifully painted stage curtain decorated at the bottom with a row of opulent mirrors. Both these forms of Krishna are oceans of nectar, but the form of Krishna in Vraja is the most absolutely perfect. Yasya vasah puranadu kyatasthana chatushtaye vraje madhupure dwara vatyam goloka evacha. From the Puranas and other scriptures, we learn that he resides in 4 places: Vraja, Mathura, Dwaraka, and Goloka. Okay, where am I supposed to? What is today? 17th of, up to text 40. Okay, nanu simhasya ramabhyam samyamasya gatam sputam iti Vishnu Puraneya prakriyatra vilokyate. At this point, someone may ask whether Lord Nrsimha and Lord Ramachandra are on equal level with Krishna. To answer this question, let us review how the Vishnu Purana addresses this issue. Sorry. Atra kaschit shankate. Nanuveti. Here is somebody's doubt. Krishnasya swayam rupatvam uttvapi Nrsimhadina tasya samyam bruvan ukta vismarta ayam grantha kridditi bhavaha. The doubt is, you said Krishna is the original form. Now you are saying that he is equal to Nrsimha and Rama. Parihartumaha iti. Kramasopana nyayena Krishna yathatmya arohanat na ukta vismrtatvam iti bhava. No. From Vishnu Purana, we will understand how each of the 3 Paravasta forms reveal the glory of the Lord step by step, higher and higher. Someone may infer from Srila Rupa Goswami's initial description of the Paravasta forms that the 3 incarnations in this topmost category are equally full manifestations of the Supreme. Has our venerable author forgotten his thesis that Sri Krishna alone is original and supreme? No. The description of the excellences of Lord Nrsimha and Lord Ramachandra leads the way, step by step, to the correct understanding of Krishna. It is only natural to enter a palace by walking up the staircase that leads to its entrance. So in the next session, we will be able to see how this subject is dealt with in Sri Vishnu Purana.